Yo, what is going on, you guys? It's your boy King Sanders here. We are back with another day of sports betting. This is going to be for Tuesday, November 15th slate of NBA action. Man, I'm super excited to dive into it. Unfortunately, it is only a 5-game slate, so a very, very small slate. Manage your bankroll on days like today because we do have a full 10-game slate as of tomorrow, so we'll be doubling the amount of plays that we'll be able to really, look at and dive into. So make sure that you guys are smart about your plays as of today. But before we go ahead and dive into it, I did just want to go ahead and say we are still currently on the road to 9,000 subscribers. So if you guys are new, make sure that you guys do like, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you guys know whenever I post. Next, I did just want to go ahead and give a quick shout out here to all of our members here on the channel. Thank you guys so much for everything that you guys do, and thank you guys so much for giving such a small channel such a big chance, as I always say. It truly does mean the absolute world to me, so much more than you guys will ever know. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive into a quick recap as of yesterday. Actually, before I do that, I will say that I am recording this not super early, but I'm recording this pretty early on Tuesday morning. So with that being said, I want to make sure that this video does get out to you guys as soon as possible. So with that being said, I probably will not have nearly as much editing as I normally do with like the box slide and stuff like that. I just want to be able to get this video out as fast as possible. My Wi-Fi is awful. It's absolutely abysmal. So I want to be able to get this out as soon as possible. So with that being said, I just want to upload it and go because I want to be able to still get these plays out for you guys, but it takes forever for me to upload videos, so that's why I usually do it the night before, and there's snow on the ground, so that's always fun. So without any further ado, let's do a quick recap as of yesterday. We ended up going 2 and 3 on our plays yesterday. It was definitely a tough day yesterday. We actually still almost broke even, as weird as it was, just because of the fact that we did have a plus value added play, but we'll go ahead and talk about it. So we did end up having Paul George over 37.5 PRAs versus Houston at minus 120. Finishes right at 35. And I think that if the blowout didn't happen, I think that he would have been able to hit the over. He finished just 3 shy, so easily he could have hit the over, but it was just it was a very tough beat. The Houston Rockets just really didn't show up to play basketball. Paul George did play really well despite starting the game like 0-4, but he finished pretty well, almost hitting this over, but it is what it is. Then we had our kill shot play of the day. We had Plumlee under 8.5 rebounds. He was at 6 going into the fourth quarter, and then he grabs like 5 in the fourth quarter. And then he ends up in double digits regardless. This play, if the game was still a blowout, which it was for most of the game, the Magic decided they wanted to come back in this game. Had they not came back, I think that we could have easily won this bet. But it is what it is. Loss is a loss. Then we had the Suns plus 1.5 here versus Miami at minus 110. This is why we take the points. This is why we take the points, ladies and gentlemen, because the Suns ended up losing by exactly 1. They were up pretty big, too. They were up by like 12 points. The Miami Heat fought back and ended up winning this game by exactly 1. So this is exactly why we take the points, ladies and gents. But then we did have our 2 added plays. We had Bogdanovich over 18.5 points versus Toronto at minus 125. He literally finishes right at 18, and even though he shot really bad, to be honest, he started off the game really slow too, he finishes right at 18. So we missed that one right on the hook, and then we did also have Bogdanovich over 2.5 assists. I kind of put it at the end of the stats. I was like, another added one. His over in assists, it was at plus 125, and that one ended up working out. He had finished with like 5, so it was pretty sweat free for that one. But anyway, we did end up going 2 and 3 on our plays. We almost broke even, considering that we did have the plus value play. So for our first play of the day, we are going to be taking Jalen Brunson over 18.5 points here versus the New York Knicks at minus 115 odds. Now, the reason that I do like this one, he is coming off of a 17-point outing versus the OKC Thunder, which he only did see 24 minutes in that game. I think he does get back to his usual 30 to 31 minutes per game, what his usual rotation is. And even in those games, in the last couple of games, he's seen like anywhere from 14 to 20 shot attempts in those games. And with that being said, I think if he shoots at least 14, I think you can bank on him having a pretty good day. He has hit this over in 3 of his last 4 matchups here versus the Utah Jazz. He's been pretty solid, and even though those matchups were on the Dallas Mavericks, he was still able to get it done. And with that being said, Utah, they do allow the 4th most points per game to opposing point guards, so they have given up a lot of points to that point guard position, and I think that Jalen Brunson can get his 20 here for sure. New York is 3rd when it comes to pace. Utah is 10th when it comes to pace. So both these teams are in the top 10 when it comes to pace, and the over-under is set to 230.5. That's a pretty high over-under. The books expect a lot of points to be scored in those games, and honestly, so do I. So, and if you take a look at his last couple of games, he has actually hit the over in 5 of his last 7 games. That does speak a lot of volume to me. I mean, even though he's getting a lot of shot attempts, he's knocking down a lot of them. So I think it's a pretty good spot here to be taking the over. So that is going to be our first play of the day. Jalen Brunson over 18.5 points here versus the Jazz at -110 odds. Now for our second play of the day, we are going to be taking the Grizzlies at the Pelicans over 230.5 points here at -110 odds. Now, if you take a look at it, the Pelicans, they are 8-5 to the over so far this year. They've been a pretty good over team, and the Grizzlies, they really haven't been. It's pretty much a coin flip. They are right around that 500 mark when it does come to the over and the under. But the Pelicans, they are 7th in points per game, and Memphis is 11th. So both these teams are just out. Well, the Grizzlies are just outside the top 10 when it comes to scoring, and the Pelicans are in the top 10 when it comes to scoring so far this season. Memphis is also 17th in points allowed, and they actually give up 11 more points per game on the road. So they're a much worse defensive team on the road. And the Pelicans, kind of a similar story. They're 15th in points allowed, so right there in that middle echelon, when they actually give up 4 more points per game at home. So I think that's a really good spot to target. I truly do. And despite both these teams being, pretty decent defensively, Memphis actually has the 7th worst defensive efficiency on the road. They're close to that, they're in the bottom 10 of worst defensive teams on the road. So I think it's a really good spot to target here. And the last 2 outings between these two teams, 255 points were scored and 243. That's a lot of points, and I think we see a similar thing. I mean, let's be honest. This is a very star-studded matchup. We have John Morant, we have Desmond Bane, we have C.J. McCollum, we have Brandon Ingram, we have Zion, we have Joe Val. I mean, we have a lot of stars in this game, and with that being said, I just think that there should be a lot of points scored. It's one of the only 2 nationally televised games on tonight as well, and I think that does speak a lot of volume. I mean, I think we should see a lot of points between these two teams, truly. So that is going to be our second play of the day. The Grizzlies and the Pelicans over 230.5 at -110 odds. Now, I will talk about a couple other leans that I did have, just because I know this video is kind of short and it's going to be very quickly put out there. But I do have a couple leans as well. So I did have Luka under 8.5 assists versus the Clippers. The over-under is really, really low for that game, and I just expect Luka to be scoring most of the points rather than assisting. And he has actually hit the under in 4 out of his last 5 games, so I think that's a pretty good spot to target. I also did look at Sabonis over 11.5 rebounds versus the Nets. I think that's also a really good spot, but it just kind of scares me because that's a really, really high line, but he can get there for sure. Sabonis is a very good rebounder as long as he stays out of foul trouble. Then I do also kind of look at the Spurs +8 versus the Blazers. I know that the Blazers have been really solid, but the Spurs, they are coming off of a game where they really did not look very good, and the line's only +8 versus a Trailblazers team that's actually been pretty solid. Something just seems a little off about that line, and I think that the Spurs actually can go ahead and get it done here for us. They ended up losing by I think it was 37 or something, or 27. I don't know. It was a really, really big blowout versus the Golden State Warriors, and they're on the second leg of a back-to-back versus a pretty good Portland Trailblazers team, and they're only 8-point favorites. Something just doesn't add up. So I think that would be another good spot to target. Obviously, those are not official plays. If I do have any official plays, they will be in the pinned comment section and on my Twitter, so make sure you guys do check out both those spots. But that is going to do it for me. This is King Center signing out. Peace.